So I've been tagged. I've been tagged by my friend. He... Really? I can't even say his name again? Oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I got tagged by him. He's challenged me to do the nerdy questions challenge or whatever. It's a questionnaire, something he did, and so he tagged me in it. So, whatever, I'll do it. So this seems a little fun. It's all about nerdiness. And it said to wear glasses. I'm wearing my glasses anyway because I just came from a job interview, so I wanted to look studious. I don't really need them, so here we go. Kirk or Picard? Okay. Growing up a Star Trek fan, I used to think, Kirk was pretty cool. But then I got into, Next Generation, and I thought Next Generation was pretty freaking awesome. So I have to go with Picard, no questions asked. I really find him to be one of the most awesome captains I think I can even serve under. If I was in Starfleet, I would hope to be on the Enterprise D. Definitely Picard. Definitely Picard. I don't care if he's balding, but that means he's distinguished. Moving on. Warrior, thief, or wizard? Fine, I guess we could do this joke.
You're a wizard, Harry.
But no, seriously, I'm more of a thief. I've been kind of attracted to the whole rogue thief, assassin type of class character. I mean, being a big Metal Gear Solid fan, I'm big on stealth, on, cunning plans and stuff like that. So I would always think I'm a thief. Just for that matter. But a warrior, they're pretty cool too. But I'm not much for brute force or anything. I'm not too fond of that game style, and I'm not too big on wizards. But some wizards are cool. I mean, like Gandalf, Harry Potter, Dumbledore. They're cool wizards, but I definitely have to go with thief. Definitely thief on that one. Favorite subject in school? I was always big on technology classes, or anything that involved a computer. I was pretty big into. Maybe it's a combination of maybe technology, because I had an advanced computer course back in my senior year of high school, way back in 2003. Woo! Either that or sciences. I've always been interested in physics, and if I didn't really become very much big into the whole filmmaking thing that I'm into now, I think I would probably go into maybe one of the physical sciences and stuff. Maybe even try to get into CERN or something along those lines. I read up a lot about particle physics, the whole thing with the LHC, but that kind of goes with that. What is your Patronus? I took a Patronus quiz a long time ago, and I don't remember what I got. Maybe I got something generic or something. Maybe I even got the buck, just like Harry Potter. I don't even remember. But I think if I had to go for a Patronus now, maybe it's a fox. Yeah, probably a fox. Favorite superhero? I'm kind of big into the X-Men. So growing up, I was always a Gambit fan. I still am a Gambit fan, but probably most all-time favorite superhero, I have to go with Iron Man. I mean, Tony Stark is probably one of my biggest comic book idols, and it just means I just prefer him because, well, even if he was born into a privileged family, he still has to work to maintain his status. So that's pretty cool about that. Star Trek or Star Wars? I grew up a Star Trek fan. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to lie about that. I've been a big Star Trek fan my entire life. I mean, I started watching the movies when I was younger, and then I started watching the series and stuff. And then my parents were like, hey, why don't you check out Star Wars? You like that space crap, so why don't you try this? So I got into Star Wars that way, and then that was after watching Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home. And my parents were like, oh, you'll like this one. It's a little more action-packed, so I think you'll enjoy it a little better. But I enjoy both equally, but maybe I have a softer side for all things Star Trek because I grew up on it. But that's a tough one. I'm not solely on one because I grew up loving both. But I've seen all the movies. I've seen most of the TV shows. I'm currently working on a couple of the TV shows on Netflix, so we'll go from there. But yeah, I'm just gonna tough decision. I'm just gonna go with Star Trek for this one. So going on, moving on. Marvel or DC? I was never a DC fan growing up. I was always a Marvel fan. DC just seems to be a bit of a, I don't know. It just seems to be a bit of a stretch because like you have like the overpoweredness of Superman with like the practicality of Batman, and then like you kind of mash them together. It's like, okay, at least with it's a little more plausible with Marvel because they have technology as opposed to this overpowering superhero. But who knows with that? I mean, but definitely Marvel. I mean, I like some DC comics. I enjoy reading Batman. I like Batman. Batman's pretty much like the only DC character I actually really enjoyed. I mean, if you include the Watchmen, I mean, they're more third party, but I guess you could still consider them DC. But I tend to stray more to Marvel. In what unsports related way do you stay in shape? Well, other than the exercising that I've been doing, I tend to not eat. That's a very unsports way of staying in shape because I kind of I wake up, I don't really eat breakfast too often. I kind of just forget to eat. And I like even when I do eat. I'm not like an anorexic or anything. I just like to make sure I limit my intake of food. That's what I do to stay in my shape that I am. I mean, I went from like about almost 200 pounds. I was at 198 just about back in August or even before that, like back in like February of 2012. I was nearing to like 200 pounds. I was eating a lot. I was getting a little too comfortable with myself, so that's pretty much why I let myself go. And also, like all the times of eating Chinese food and going out drinking with the guys back in college didn't really do me too well. So basically, I just stopped eating, and then I was able to lose like 35 pounds, and now I'm down to 163. I weighed myself this morning. I was 163, so I'm pretty happy about that. That's a really good accomplishment. What is your dream career choice? Honestly, the best case scenario is that I get hired by, like, I want to get hired by some big production company, like maybe even one of the big movie studios. That's my dream to be. Like, I want to be a filmmaker, like, more than anything in my life. Like, I do these videos basically because I want to, like, just keep up with my editing. I love doing it. It's my passion. I love being in front of the camera. I love being in the back of the camera. I love doing everything, I love watching like the back to behind the scenes of like all these movies, and I love it. It's just amazing, like that they could take so much and then just put it together and to make what you see on the screen. That to me is very gratifying. But if we're going for unrealistic ones, sort of like a joke one, I definitely want to be. I'd probably be a masked vigilante, a la Rorschach or something. That would be pretty badass. Alrighty, favorite video game. A lot of people would expect me to say Metal Gear Solid on this one, but my favorite all-time video game is not Metal Gear Solid. That's sort of like a recent one that when I really started getting into, the PS1, and I got really, like, the only game I consider to be an absolute perfect game in my eyes is Super Mario Brothers 3 for NES. That is the only game I consider to be a perfect 10. Maybe even like, if it's a 10, it's over here at 12. It's the only one that I consider to be a perfect game. There's no other game out there, in my opinion, that will ever come close to being that perfect. Alrighty, favorite author. I got a couple favorite authors, but I'll have to narrow it down. Like, I got J.R.R. Tolkien. He's pretty badass. I got like George R.R. Martin. I've only read one of the Game of Thrones books. I'm a big Tom Clancy fan. That's another one of my favorite authors. But if I have to go with anybody, maybe I'll definitely go for J.R.R. Tolkien. Just, I love Lord of the Rings. Favorite indie band? Well, not many of these indie bands I've been into for so long are actually now mainstream, but I guess only really indie band that's not really that mainstream except in the nerd community is probably the Proto Men. I mean, I love their stuff, and I can't wait for Act 3 to come out. That's going to be pretty badass as well. I really can't wait for that one. Nerdiest thing about myself. Okay. Nerdiest thing about myself. Well, I'm awkward. Is that nerdy enough? I could be very awkward. Nerdiest movie I own. I got tons. I got a lot of movies. I got so many movies. I think I'd probably have to go with like the Metal Gear Solid parody that I got from Otakon 2008. That is perhaps the nerdiest movie I own, because if you can't be, have like a trilogy, like a parody movie of like a famous series and like you own it, that's pretty impressive. That's a really good one. If you want to check it out, definitely check out Project Snake. It's from X Strike Studios. It's really funny, and it's perhaps my nerdiest movie. PlayStation, Xbox, or Wii? I definitely have to go with Xbox on that. Biggest word I know. Appalachian. Sure, let's go with that. Biggest nerd role model. Okay, this is a toss-up between Stan Lee and David Hayter. David Hayter, is the voice of Solid Snake in the Metal Gear Solid franchise, and Stan Lee, king of all nerds. Basically, if we have to look down upon a god, or maybe a Christ figure of nerddom, it would probably be Stan Lee. Then it's tough, so I'm going to have to say David Hayter, Stan Lee, they're equal in my eyes. I know some people are going to be looking at this going like, oh, why don't you, Stan Lee is totally better than David Hayter. Well, yeah. Well, guess what? You. Which fictional character you did fantasize as a kid? That's a very dark place to be going to. A fictional character you fantasize about. What the f*** are you trying to do? Oh my god, half of these fictional characters are supposed to be preteens. That's a very dark place. I'm not going there, so I'm not answering that one. Jocks, friends or foes? Back in high school, I was a jock. I did a couple sports there, so I knew a whole bunch of jocks from there. And also, I was a big nerd, too. We had the jocks and nerds. I was friends with everybody. So, whatever. Old school bit games or modern 3D games? I'm going to have to go old school on this one and go for the bit games. I mean, I love old school games, but I also love new school games. But definitely have to go with old school because it's quite good. Good stuff. I mean, back when cheat codes were all the rage. Remember those? Oh my god. Nerdiest pickup line. Oh my god, I don't even have a nerdy pickup line. I'm blanking out on there because I never use pickup lines. Nerdiest article of clothing. I got a lot of I have a few Doctor Who shirts. I have a Firefly shirt. A couple others. I have a Resident Evil. I got a couple of Resident Evil shirts. But the nerdiest article of clothing, I guess we'll consider this to be an article of clothing. My 10th Doctor suit. Yeah, I got one. Yes. Random useless talent. I recall the weirdest movie quotes. Someone makes a reference to something and I'm like, oh, make the most obscure reference that I can probably make. And I guess you could call that useless talent. Good enough, right? Moving on. Do you read books before seeing the movie? In some cases, yes, I do. Like with the case of the Hunger Games trilogy, I read the books before I saw the first movie. I wanted to read all 3 books before I saw the movie. So I really, I gotta say, because I did that, maybe I'm having a little too far expectations when it comes to the movies now. And I think, I definitely like doing that too. Because even if you agree that the movies are going to be 10 times better than anything else, we're gonna, that's just basically what you gotta do. It's pretty good. But then I understand going back to Hunger Games, you understand all the things that are going on with why they did what they did because it's all in a third person view rather than a first person view in the book. And I kind of like that. I like the differences between that. And also, with the Percy Jackson, I read the first Percy Jackson series. And, before I read those books, I saw the first movie, and my god, the movie is terrible when you really compare it to the book. So, the book is 10 times better. Superpower. What would it be? I've always been a fan of I've always been a fan of like mutant regeneration and stuff. But if I had well, okay, let's go with that. If I had a superpower, I'd probably go for regeneration in the Doctor Who sense, because if you go for that type of superpower, you can't die. It's a way of cheating death. Isn't that right?
Time Lords have this little trick. It's sort of a way of cheating death. Except it means I'm going to change. And I'm not going to see you again. Not like this.
Yeah, what he said. But yeah, I definitely go for Time Lord regeneration. Okay, well that's those. 26 questions of nerddom. And I'm supposed to tag somebody, but I don't really have too many people who really are subscribed to me to actually would do something like this. But I would like to tag my friend Grace. She does a lot of prop work and costumes and stuff, so that's pretty cool. Maybe she'll do this if I tag her in it. So Grace, I'm tagging you in this. And if you want to check out her awesome, pretty fun videos too. They're really cool. Lots of tactical dancing action. That's really fun too. So if you want to check those out, go to her channel. I'm going to link in the description below. I'm going to, right there too. So if you want to check out her channel, go ahead. Really good stuff. If you ever want to, learn how to do various armor costumes, definitely drop her a line and tell her that. If you're interested, because she does really awesome work. So that's that. Good to go. So nerddom. Huzzah. Time.
Oh, that's right. Barcelona.